A lonely man sits in a cold stone cell. The quiet night air feels heavy and dark. He made a terrible promise that he cannot break. According to an old tale, this medieval worker faced a scary choice. If he could not finish a massive task before the sun came up, he would be buried alive behind heavy bricks. He needed help, and he needed it fast. Fear filled every breath he took. His hands shook as he looked at the blank pages spread across the low table. The story says he prayed to a bad force to help him finish the job in time. In exchange, he gave away his soul and drew a picture of the bad spirit inside the thick leaves. That dark myth gave birth to the name of the Devil's Bible. When we look past the scary myth, the real object stands right in front of us. This giant manuscript is known as the Codex Gigas. It is 3 feet tall and weighs over 170 pounds. 2 adult people must lift it together just to move it across a table. It is the largest book left from the old world, and its size startles everyone who sees it. The material used to build this huge book tells a story of massive labor. The pages are made of fine vellum, which is treated animal skin. Experts estimate that workers needed the skins of 160 donkeys to make enough sheets for the entire work. Every single leaf was scraped smooth by hand. The physical weight of the sheets shows how much work went into making just the blank pages. This work began long ago in 13th century Bohemia. A small Benedictine monastery stood in a quiet valley far from big towns. The people living inside those cold stone walls followed strict rules every single day. They spent their whole lives in silent devotion, work, and prayer. Life was simple, harsh, and slow. In that quiet place, someone picked up a pen and started a job that would take over his whole life. Investigating this ancient mystery requires us to look close at the ink and evidence left on the pages. Science helps us separate old fairy tales from what really happened long ago. We must leave the ghost stories behind and study the dark marks line by line. When experts look closely at the physical marks, they find clues that change how we see the famous story. Ink experts tested the writing across all 310 pages. They looked at every letter, curve, and line. The handwriting looks exactly the same from the very first page to the final line. It shows no changes in style or shape. This key detail proves that one single person wrote the entire work from start to finish without help from other writers. Writing a book this large by hand breaks the human body. A person sitting at a wood desk for hours suffers from bad eyes, stiff fingers, and a sore back. The ink had to be mixed by hand from iron and plant oak galls. Dip after dip, the writer kept moving his quill across the rough surface. Pain became his daily friend as the seasons changed outside his small window. Imagine spending every waking moment in total silence. You do not talk to friends or walk in the warm sun. Your whole world shrinks down to the tip of a wet feather pen. The writer gave up his whole life to complete this grand dream. Every hour was lost to the blank sheets. His dedication felt like a prison, yet he refused to stop his endless work. Near the middle of the book sits the famous picture that made it famous. On page 290, A giant, colorful picture of the devil fills the space. The drawing shows a scary red beast with green hair, sharp claws, and 2 tongues. Right next to the scary picture sits a drawing of a bright, heavenly city. The picture was meant to warn people about good and bad choices. Why would a holy monk draw such a strange picture inside a holy text? Some experts believe the writer felt deeply guilty about a bad mistake from his past. He may have made a vow to write the entire collection of human knowledge to fix his bad choices. The scary drawing was not a tribute to dark power, but a deep warning to himself and others. Over hundreds of years, the giant book traveled across broad lands and survived dark wars. It moved from small prayer halls to rich imperial palaces. Kings and armies fought to own the heavy treasure. As it moved from hand to hand, people kept adding new rumors to its history. Every new owner felt the quiet power hidden inside its thick wood covers. In the late 1600s, a terrible fire broke out inside a royal castle in Sweden where the book was kept. Flames filled the high rooms and burned old wood. To save the precious book from the hot fire, workers threw the giant volume out of a high window. It landed hard on the dirt ground below. The heavy landing shook the pages, but the book survived the drop. When people picked up the book after the fire, they noticed something strange. A few leaves were missing from the heavy spine. 10 full pages had been cut out long before the fall. No one knows who removed those lost sheets or what was written on them. The missing text remains one of the deepest secrets hidden inside the manuscript today. Every place that kept the giant book seemed to meet with trouble or bad luck. People began to believe the myth about a dark curse. They thought the scary picture inside brought bad events to anyone who owned it. Even though these stories were just fear, the bad name stayed attached to the book for hundreds of years. The nickname of the Devil's Bible stuck forever. Modern scientific evidence offers us a clear look at how long the work really took. Scientists tested how fast a person could copy text by hand back then. If a person wrote for 6 hours every single day without stopping, it would take over 20 years to complete the manuscript. If we include making the ink and preparing the animal skins, it likely took 30 long years. 30 years is almost a full lifetime in the Middle Ages. The monk started his task as a young man with strong hands and bright eyes. By the time he penned the final words, he was an old man with tired eyes and gray hair. His whole youth, middle age, and old years were swallowed by the huge task he took on alone. This long journey reveals the deep cost of human effort. The writer gave up his name, his health, and his comfort to build something that would outlive him. He sat alone while the world outside changed. His life slipped away letter by letter, drop by drop, into the thick paper. He left behind no personal diary, only his endless lines of clean script. Today, the Codex Gigas sits safely behind glass inside a quiet museum. Millions of people look at its huge pages and wonder about the true story. Did the monk work in dark sadness, or did he feel peace while writing? We can test the ink and count the pages, but we can never fully see inside the heart of the writer who made it. The real truth behind the manuscript is even more surprising than the old ghost story. No dark monster made this giant book in a single night. Instead, it was built by one single human being through 30 years of hard labor and endless grit. That unbelievable effort proves what a single focused heart can create, leaving behind a wonder that still startles us today.